Welcome to Unraveling with Jamie and July, where we explore the many layers of healing, deep dive into the difficult or often avoided conversations, and unravel what it means to be a woman in today's world.
Oh. Hey.
Hi.
I want to say how's it going again, but we've already been here. What are we talking about today on the podcast?
Tell
Today
us. We're going to talk about something that affects every single woman, whether she realizes it or not. Capitalism.
Yay.
And how it has profited off of the systematic oppression of women. So we're going to be talking about the ways we have been conditioned generation after generation to feed a system that was never designed for us to win. And, just think about it. Unpaid labor, beauty standards, emotional caretaking, gender expectations, and the constant moving of the goalposts so that we never feel like we're enough. All these things exist for one reason, and it's to keep us exhausted, distracted, and dependent on a system that takes more from us than it will ever give. So if you've ever felt that like maybe this system is rigged against you, it's because it is. And this episode is for you. I'm being very
sounds exciting.
I'm being it is because it is. It really truly is. Yeah. And but I am going to take a moment really quick once again to just remind people, if they haven't heard yet, that we have a really cool little new vibe to our newsletter called Love Notes.
Oh my!
And we're just so excited about it that we can't stop talking about it. And
I lost our notes.
Yeah, you lost our.
You keep talking. Keep talking and find our notes.
Not very
with you.
loving.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I blame the computer.
Love Notes. It's just a little gift delivered to your inbox twice a month, and it's really beautiful, guys. Like, it's really inspirational, and we're having fun making them. So, and we want you to benefit from these
pretty great,
beautiful, sweet little love notes of inspiration to help you on your journey of radical self-love and reclamation. And so
I like to say, who doesn't love a love note?
Yeah.
So I feel like that's our slogan.
Yeah. So go ahead and go over, and there'll be a link in the show notes.
Yep.
And you can also access links to all of our stuff over on our Instagram profile at Unraveling This Life. Yes. So that's my plug. And now we're gonna
well done. Thank you for multitasking.
Yeah.
While I just sat here and like messed things up and did nothing. Oh my God.
It's just because I can only do those things because I'm a mom and I have so many kids.
I just panic.
I just have so many
your
children.
Computer, I don't know how to use it.
That's the same as yours.
So. No, because anyway, it's not important. I was like, you scroll using the thing. That's not how I scroll.
That's true.
So anyway.
You use the arrows.
I do, and it works well. Yeah. But not on yours. It just was like, what is this? Anyway, so don't mind us.
Oh, goodness.
Or me.
All right, so we get into the topic.
Let's dig into the topic. Okay, so why has capitalism relied on keeping women in a state of exhaustion, insecurity, and compliance?
Because it totally benefits off of that. Done.
That is how it works.
Episode over.
Next question. Well, no, I mean, yeah, valid. That's what it was designed to do.
No, it totally was designed to keep us down and keep us wanting more.
Oh my God. I get such a kick out of some of our questions. I'm sorry, I read ahead. But anyway.
That's okay.
Yeah, 100%. So we're in a funky vibe for this podcast so far. It's great. So we're going to dive into some discussion questions. I just get a kick out of this. Do you feel there is an imbalance within our society in direct relation to outdated gender roles that are still rooted into our structure? We have an example. such as how when women have careers, they're still expected to run households, raise children, and be emotionally available for everyone around them.
I think that the gender roles are starting to slowly come into balance. I see more and more men who do more of the house cleaning, or like we do have stay-at-home dads now. We do have households where the men predominantly do most of the cooking. Like, my son-in-law, he does all the dishes. That's his task.
Nice.
So, I think he does a fair amount of the cooking too. And that's, that's having more balance within it, right? Is important. I do think we have a long way to go.
Yeah.
I think there are still gender roles. And I'm going to admit, I myself, as a mom raising boys and girls, like, you go back to when my kids were little. I definitely tried to make sure that the boys and the girls were each doing, the same chores. And yet there are times, like, I can't say that the girls took out the trash.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that it's like, it gets stuck in your head. Well, that's the man's job to take the trash out. Right. But why? Why is it, and I definitely, as a mom, I played into some of that, just not even realizing where it was coming from, because if I had realized, at the time, but yeah. So I think we all still are doing it to some degree. And I think we have a long way to go, but there is some progress.
Oh, for sure.
So
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I I didn't really leave room for you to answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
You're just in agreement. Yeah, you see it too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, did you do it like when you were married? Did you have certain things where, like, you made him do them, like just in your mind somewhere? Was it like a man's task?
I feel like he took out the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
See, I have things,
but I fell into the role of, like, doing everything else.
I have things in my marriage where it's like, I used to do them, and they might be, considered like a gender role, typical man duty of sorts, right? But, like, for example, plumbing. I was the one who fixed the plumbing. It always fell on me, and now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, you know what? It's your turn.
Yeah.
It's your turn. So it's not even a gender role. I'm just like, no, we got to have some equality in this situation. I'm retired from the plumbing now.
I'm moving on.
And not because I wasn't competent at it or anything like that. It literally just made me angry.
Fair. Fair. No, totally.
Yeah. So anyhow.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So
next question.
Yeah, I'm going to dive into the next question. Why do you think it is that men's work has been historically paid and valued while women's has been expected and invisible?
Because we live in a patriarchal system of complete and total imbalance, where women have been oppressed, abused, neglected, not recognized for thousands of years. Yeah. It's a pretty simple answer, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
just question. We're crushing these questions.
We're just right. Yeah, this is the facts.
I didn't mean to, like, laugh so much when you started answering that one, because it's not funny, but it's just very accurate.
Well, it's one of those things, I think sometimes you can't help but almost, like, laugh or chuckle, because it's just so sorry, guys. A rooster just crowed. You probably didn't hear it, but it, like, literally,
it sounds like it's at the door.
Yeah, it really does. I think he is at the door.
Oh my God, this episode is really cracking me up, man.
This is
great.
farm life.
Oh my
gosh.
Oh my God.
Okay. Wow, my computer really doesn't like you.
I won't touch it. How about that?
I'm noticing. Okay.
Okay. So the truth is, capitalism could not function without women's unpaid labor. And this isn't just about household chores. It's about the expectation that women will be the caregivers, the nurturers, the ones who pick up the pieces without ever being compensated for it.
Yes. I feel tired thinking
Me
about
too.
it. No, and what I was saying before the rooster crowed it was
Right.
that I think sometimes these topics are just so big and so overwhelming. You can't help but chuckle a little bit, you know.
Especially when there's a rooster crowing. It's so great.
I guess the cock wants to let us know he's here.
Typical.
He is really at it. Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I hope they can hear it.
I don't think that they can through our microphones. No. So they're just gonna think we're rambling around. Yeah, rambling about this.
Yeah.
What rooster?
Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
Anybody who knows us, who's listening, knows the farm that we live on. So
I know there's definitely a rooster.
yeah, many.
Yeah.
So to understand how we got here, we have to take a look at herstory, my favorite topic. So for centuries, women's labor has been deliberately devalued. It started with agriculture and early civilization, where women were expected to manage homes and bear children while men handled the real work. The real work, in quotes, which is certainly is very interesting, seeing as it is believed that agriculture itself was actually invented by women. So, yeah, just an interesting side note to that. Fast forward to industrialization, and things only got so much worse. When men went to work in factories, women were left to hold everything together at home for free. And when women finally entered the workforce, they were expected to do their jobs and keep running their homes, all while earning less, as we know. So this is all played into capitalism because, I mean, they're getting so much free labor out of us in this. To keep this world running, it requires masses of women's free labor or cheap labor. No wonder why they've been so, in such a hold strong on it, on the, I don't even know what the right term is. So I'm just holding strong on the not paying us, equal earnings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just distracted by the rooster,
Me too.
to be honest with you, because he's really going at it out there.
Really making his presence known.
And it's afternoon. I don't know. He thinks it's morning. Yeah.
That's weird.
They don't really respond to the morning dance. That's a myth. So questions to get into discussion. So how have we personally, or how have you personally felt pressure to do it all without recognition? I think it just comes with being a woman.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever felt like pressured to do it all. I think you're just like,
what is.
You just kind of fall into it. Yeah. Because it's like it's what
you saw
normalized.
Your mother, your grandmother, your aunts do. It's just, it's what being a woman is.
Yeah.
And so we just accept it as, well, this is our life. And they've certainly banked on that.
I now feel pressure to do it all because no one else lives in my home. And so if I don't do it all, it's not going to get done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean,
that was more a joke.
But you're just a strong, independent woman.
My cat doesn't do anything.
Lazy. Just sits there all day.
Yep.
Lying in the sun.
Yep. Pretty much.
Oh, goodness. I always look at my pets and think, wow, you got such a great life.
I know, right?
When you look at women's history and reflect on these injustices, what feelings come up? Like
anger.
It's hard not to feel some anger.
Yeah.
It really is. People talk about these angry women, and it's like,
honestly, I wouldn't even, it's not even anger. Like, I don't feel like it's like, sure, the odd time. I think for me, it's like when you learn about certain things, sometimes initially you're just like, fuck. But I don't even feel like it's like anger. It's more so just like energy. Like, I think, like you said, like that, like, maybe it's kind of what I've talked about before of like turning that anger into like fire.
Yeah.
It feels more like fire than anger, if that makes sense.
I agree.
And there's also some sadness too, like depending on what you're learning about, and like,
for sure,
when you're reflecting on certain things, there's a lot of sadness too, like a grief.
Yeah, no, there is a lot of grief, and it's important to process
Yeah.
that grief, because, you know, our ancestors weren't able to. Their lives were so limited that they couldn't even grieve the things that they didn't have openly at all. And, there's so much repression of feelings and emotions just built up generation after generation, and we're still carrying that. So no, I couldn't help but in this question, like when you look at women's history and reflect, like what feelings come up. I was just thinking about if the roles were reversed and all these things happened to men, what would that look like?
Well, the same, only opposite.
Yeah, except I don't think they'd handle it quite as well as we have.
I mean, it's hard to say.
I'm just saying,
yeah.
they get upset with us because when we do get angry over these things, and it's like,
Well, but
you'd be angry
yeah.
too if this happened
Well,
to you.
but that's the thing though. It's like they get upset when we get angry, but they've lived the opposite side of the coin of this. So
Exactly.
it's like,
Exactly.
if the tables were turned, well, we might be getting upset with them for being angry about it. Like, that's just the facts.
For sure. So, and no, I know.
Oh,
I know. I was just like, I was confused if I was taking your questions away from you, or like
no,
when you
it's
were
fine. It wouldn't.
Yeah. How do you feel about our progress into true equality? And do you think we have a long way to go? This is where I have a note here bringing up that feminism is still a dirty word. I think we have a long, long way to go. Like, I mean, it just the way that there's still things that are said that are so obvious, like obviously so deeply ingrained that, men are having trouble waking up and realizing, women are having trouble. Like, this is, a women's issue, if you will, and we haven't realized it yet. So then how are the men supposed to wake up and realize it? And then so often, because of this painting feminism out as something dirty and something, like these are just angry women. And it's like, we're not even open for the conversation of, no, this is about equality. And like, no, we really were not treated right. We have not been treated right for a very long time. And the system benefits from it. So it's going to try to keep us silent and complacent as long as it possibly can. Because when we start standing up and saying, no more, we're done with this, that's when things will really start to change. But it takes a lot of us doing it, the majority of
it takes
us.
a lot. And I mean, it's going to take time anyway, because it's like, even just the very, like, it's so interwoven into our culture, into the way we think, into the way we speak. Like, that in itself is going to take time and generations to change, right?
Yeah. And it has been changing little by little.
Exactly.
It's realizing we still have a ways to go.
And realizing that, like, we all have a responsibility to make that change. It's not going to just happen, right?
No,
and it's not going to just happen with like big movements or any like revolutions. It's like, it's in your day to day.
And it's in your choices.
It's in your choices. It's in, speaking up when someone says or does something inappropriate, or, whatever it might be.
Well, and when it comes to playing into this system of capitalism, I think a lot of times we're taking one step forward and then we're sliding 2 steps backwards because, ooh, it's pretty and I want it. Ooh, it's the latest hairstyle. It's the latest makeup. It's the, oh, there's a new diet trend. I've got to jump in on that. Like, all this stuff is part of the capitalistic system. Like, we are literally holding up a system of oppression, because it very much is a system of oppression by our insecurities, our self-doubt, and just playing into the purchasing. Like, we have purchase power within this to help make choices and say, no, I'm not buying that crap. No, I don't need. And I think we're seeing little movements, like, we talked about this in our episode where we sort of talked about the importance of learning history, with how aging is changing for women, and women, there's more and more women coming forward and speaking up about how aging is not, it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing. And like, let's embrace it. And, let's really change the narrative here. But there's still also a lot of women playing into this insecurities of aging and buying into all the products and all, to keep themselves from aging. And, we can get into that: clothing, makeup, diet supplements, even just home decor. Oh, well, I'll just redo a room and that'll make me feel better. Playing into the constant consumption, the over consumption. And that's what feeds the system.
Yeah.
And in order for us to not wake up to the fact that we're feeding the system needs us to continue to feel insecure and less than. So like we want. And that will somehow fill this hole within us, right? So yeah.
Yes. So, as you touched on, yes, we got to talk about the weaponization of beauty and desirability. The fashion, beauty, and diet industries alone are worth hundreds of billions, all built on the premise that women must constantly fix, shrink, and perfect themselves to be considered desirable, valuable, and worthy. We need to be honest with ourselves and wake up to the fact that a system that profits off our insecurities will never want us to feel whole.
And I think that's a key too, is like really realizing
that you're on a hamster wheel.
That you are on a hamster wheel, that this is a system. There's no debating it. This isn't some conspiracy theory. This is a system. You can see it. You just have to take a glance and it's very obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, why would they want you to feel good about yourself? If you feel good about yourself, you stop buying.
No, I was just going to say, what are you going to buy if you feel good about yourself?
Yeah, if you feel secure, if you feel complete, if you feel good, you're going to stop buying. And I mean, we even see this with how they've taken aspects of, because a lot of people are on a healing journey right now, and they're taking aspects of that, and their capitalism is stepping into the healing world big time. Where can we profit off of this? Oh, let's exploit minds, because these women all seem to be interested in crystals. So we'll have crystals everywhere. We'll even put them into like the big box stores and sell them. I mean, I know you've probably seen them before sitting at like, some of those big retail outlets. And it's like, where did those come from? What type of mining practices are those coming from? And what companies are supplying these? They're big companies making a lot of profit off of this. And I mean, it's happening across the board with the commercialization of healing now, right? Which the truth of it is like all the tools, crystals are beautiful and wonderful, and all the tools are great and they can be fun, but you do not need them to heal. You just simply do not. So
no, absolutely.
And like with constantly making us feel less than through the way that they present ads, and like we see a rise of them actually putting more realistically shaped, I'll say, women into ads. We have seen certain companies understanding that that's what women want to see, but those same companies are also still selling stuff to you. Saying, well, but you need this. All women in all shapes and sizes are beautiful, but you also need this makeup product or this bar of soap to truly have soft skin and be beautiful. When in reality, you're probably going to be better off buying something from a local soap maker or, So, and who's a woman, who's testing it on actual women's skin, not animals and such, right? That's a whole other thing. That's just everything about capitalism is so disgusting.
Oh my goodness.
So
all right, so a couple discussion questions. What's one way capitalism has made you feel not enough, whether through work, beauty expectations, or something else? Do we have to only pick one?
I don't think I can pick one. It's just a constant. And I go back to even childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I can see it back then. Like just, feeling the pressure to fit in, the pressure to keep up. It's so ingrained within our social structure at this point that they don't even really have to do that much anymore.
No.
We've literally generation after generation been brainwashed into consumption. And that, going out and buying something new makes you feel good. New clothes make you feel good. And just, over consuming everything and trying to keep up with those around us so that we will fit in. Right? Yeah.
No, I feel like for me, like, I feel like the whole, like, really experiencing feeling the whole, like, not enough and feeling the need to keep up didn't really hit me till like my 20s. Mostly just because, like, I feel like because of the way I was raised, where like it wasn't even really like I didn't have access to as much media and all that kind of stuff. Like growing up, I didn't go to public school, so I didn't have like all that kind of pressure. So yeah, I feel like really kind of getting in. I remember feeling a lot of shame though for like not wearing the cool clothes and not, knowing how to wear makeup and all of these different things. Like I definitely remember, especially as I got into like my early teens and that's kind of because that's when I started getting little jobs and stuff too. So I was starting to get out more. And so I definitely started to feel a lot more like self-conscious and a lot of like shame for being different and not having all these things I should have and dressing the way I should dress and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the things I've been surprised about in the being not enough is a lot of the pressure of like, to be enough, to fit has actually come from other women.
I would agree.
Really from men.
I would agree. And I think there's a lot of fear amongst women when a woman doesn't fall into those norms that have been created for us.
Oh yeah.
Because no, I would agree beyond that. I'm sorry, I feel like I kind of cut you off.
No.
With like carrying on. But like I felt, and I was sitting here thinking as I was like wrapping up my last thought, and I was like, man, I think for me, like the most shame I felt is really in the way I've dressed as a woman. Like, and I'm like sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, wow, there's so much. Is it not
always other women that are the ones that are criticizing you, or just kind of either casting judgment and you feel it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, same.
And I'm sitting here like who decided how or what, like, where did this all come from? Who decided that like this is how a woman dresses and this is how a man dresses? And if you don't dress super feminine, well, then you're not as womanly, I don't know, as this other woman who dresses more feminine.
Well, and even
or you're not as attractive, as appealing as appealing as other women because you don't dress a certain way.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's one of the things with the capitalism, like it feeds off of us being pitted against each other, I think. And I think that's an important thing to look at.
Competing against each other.
And just criticizing one another. Like it definitely needs us to be divided.
Yeah. Well, because if you're divided, you're not rising up against anything. You're not having conversations and like we're having right now.
Oh, for sure.
If you're divided and you're competing against each other, you're not talking about the problems.
Well, no, I mean, because we talk about the patriarchy and how it's, what it's done. And like, we'll just say, for example, we'll say slut shaming, for example, that whole idea of, being that respectable woman is more covered and, like, oh, look at how she's dressed, right? I've never received that from a man, that type of a feeling of like, oh gosh, like, am I showing too much? But I have from women. I certainly have from women. Like, oh my gosh.
You've never received that as in like, you've never gotten that vibe from a man that you might be wearing
No.
something inappropriate? Like
No.
that's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No.
Just clarifying that.
No, but from women,
Yeah.
certainly. I've experienced it throughout life at all different ages of life, from being a kid, from being a teen, you know, like, oh my gosh, like it's always the women who are.
Oh no, I would agree.
Yeah. And I think that's so important to touch on, because this isn't just a situation where it's like the patriarchy, the men who are just pushing these things on us constantly in such an obvious way. They don't need to do it anymore, because they've created such division between women.
Well, division and so much shame too, that it's like, it's not even, it's like women who are, say, judging and doing that to other women, that's coming from a place of their own shame and their own fear.
For sure.
Right. Of being like, it's projection. Like a lot of it would be projection.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Of just like, I don't feel like I could wear that.
Yep.
Or that's just what's in our society.
Yep.
Right. Of just like, well, you can't wear certain things unless you're super fit or super skinny or whatever. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And then, I mean, I guess the other times I certainly have felt a lot of insecurity, you know, after having children and like, you know, just that pressure to take the baby weight off. Like it definitely like, you know, it was a big thing. And then because I was a young mom, you know, there was a lot based in looking young, dressing young, which, you know, when you're a nursing mom, that can be challenging, especially back when I was having children. So it goes so like, deep for us.
Oh my God, that's so fucking absurd. Like, I'm just like sitting here and take the baby weight off. I just had a fucking baby. Like, chill. How about that?
I actually remember after I had my first child. Now, this did come from a man. It wasn't towards me, but I was involved. Let me explain.
Okay.
So I had my first child, and when I had my first child, you know, like I was 19, I turned 20. Yeah. So at this point, I'm 20 years old. Now, a 20-year-old's body is going to pretty much snap back into shape pretty quick, usually, right? And so I was pretty much back to my normal, and we had some people that lived near us, and she had a baby around the same time, and her significant other was shaming her. And like, I was actually there one day and then made reference to me, like, look, you guys had babies at the same time. Like, what's going, yeah.
Jeez.
Oh yeah. Like, and so as women, I mean, yeah, I mean, yes, other women definitely major problem, but yes, it does come in for men too, of course. But it's just, the point is like, who thinks that they can talk to someone like that, period? Like, I have straight up been told, like, you dress like an old lady.
Well, I mean,
what makes you think you can speak to someone that way?
I mean, it comes back to like, who you don't have the right to say anything about another person's body.
No.
How they dress, how they take, like, it's not your body. You don't got to worry about it.
Yeah.
Like, the only time you get to comment on someone's body or anything about them is if you have genuine concern for them and you approach it in a, you know, gentle, loving way. That's like, exactly, hey, I'm noticing this. I'm concerned.
Two scenarios where I myself feel like, okay, that's actually like having concern and compassion. One is if you see someone that they do seem to be struggling with their health, and you know, in whatever way, they could be overweight or not, but they're struggling with their health, and you have concern. You say, hey, like, I noticed, are you okay? Do you need any support in this? And yeah, you have to be really careful, because it's not, you're not judging so much, but you're human and you notice and you're concerned. Or if you see a friend that they're just not taking care of themselves, right? Like, and then you're concerned, like, are they depressed? I mean, it's not a judgment, like, oh my gosh, she looks like shit, but it's I'm a little worried about her. She's not taking very good care of herself. Maybe things aren't okay. But again, you approach it gently. We don't have the right, we don't walk up to someone and say, hey, I noticed you look like shit. Like,
Yeah.
Like, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
just, you don't do
What the
that.
fuck's wrong with you?
But the truth is I have experienced stuff from other women that is not that far removed from
same.
that.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No, I'm pretty sure I've experienced, you look like shit today. What's
yeah,
up?
yeah.
And I'm
And
like,
or
blessings to you too.
like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're wearing that.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you you need to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
oh my God, yeah. No,
excuse me?
now that you say that, I'm like, no, I've totally had friends that like were some of the just like shamed me for everything I wore, for how I dressed.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it
so
sucks
much.
because I mean, I know this one particular incident. I was absolutely in love with this
Mhm.
skirt.
Mhm.
Like in love, like I really liked it. And
Mhm.
when I wore it, it made me feel good.
Mhm.
It made me happy.
Mhm.
And then a very close friend
Mhm.
just said really rude and inappropriate things about it.
Mhm.
And it ruined it for me. I never wore the skirt again.
And that's like that, like stuff like that is so sad, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's interesting how like it's like we've kind of got on the topic of like clothing, but it's like as I sit here and we're talking about it, I'm like, wow, that is like, it's like a really big one, because like I'm thinking about my own self, and even in the last few years with like the journey I've been on, I have struggled with the way I dress.
Mhm.
Like with not where it's like I like it. I
Yeah.
like the way I dress. I'm comfortable with the way I dress, but I've struggled with it mentally, feeling like just because I've felt very judged for it.
Mhm.
Because, I don't dress feminine enough or whatever it is,
Mhm.
right? And like, or, I love hoodies. I wear them a lot. And it's kind of, oh, like, don't you wear anything else? Like, he's wearing a hoodie. Like, it's like, fuck, what do you want me to wear? A ball gown? Like,
Well, exactly.
I'd get judged for that too. Who do you think you are wearing a ball gown?
Exactly.
But no, like, that's kind of like if
No.
I'm really thinking about it, I'm like, that's kind of the biggest thing that
Yeah.
I've found judgment surrounding, I guess.
I think there's a lot of like, I mean, I think it's so woven deeply into our society. I've heard women say to women that are starting to gray, like, "Oh, are you going to diet?"
Oh yeah.
Like that's an inappropriate question to ask.
The questions that get asked
That
to
is
people, it's
actually
wild.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
Like, what business is it of yours if I am
Well,
or I'm
it's
not
also-
going to diet? And
Well,
why
yeah.
would I tell you that?
Well, yeah. First of all, it's like, what business is it of yours? But it's also sad that that's the first question,
Mhm.
right? That's oh,
Yeah.
are you gonna cover that up? Are you
Yeah.
gonna start lying about your age?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old are you? Turning
Yeah.
29 again? Like,
Yeah. No, and this is part of this
Yeah.
this whole this programming that we have that feeds in the capitalism.
Mhm.
Because the more we criticize each other, the more that we tear each other down and tear each other apart, the more that we're going to buy. We're going to
Yeah.
feel insecure. We're going to be searching for more, and
Mhm.
we're going to buy.
Mhm.
So, I mean, capitalism has us like
Mhm.
really strong.
I was gonna say by the balls.
The free labor, the constant support of the free that we just as
Yeah.
women give
Mhm.
to uphold everything and keep it going. And then also, not only are we nurturing everybody, but we need to feel like crap about
Mhm.
ourselves so that we keep participating in buying all
Mhm.
the crap
Mhm.
that they need us to buy so that
So
they
not
can
only
be
can we support
billionaires.
our families, but we can also support capitalism.
Yeah, this 1%.
No wonder we're exhausted.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel
So,
like we kind of covered the next question, but how often have you observed women in your life being affected by the capitalistic beauty, diet, or fashion industry? And do you feel that women are more affected than men?
I do see more men being affected today
Mhm.
than I did previously, I have to say, which I find worrisome.
Mhm.
I think that's a major backward step.
Yeah.
Um, I have seen it throughout my whole life. I can't honestly think of, off the top of my head,
Mhm.
I cannot think of any woman I've encountered who I can honestly say, oh yeah, no, they've definitely been affected by this in some way.
Mhm.
I remember women back when I was a kid, taking diet pills and working out looking in the mirror and hating on themselves and buying more diet pills and all the things. And, the diet shakes was a big deal for a while. And I mean, even I myself played into that stuff as a teen, which is very dangerous. And yeah, fashion, oh my gosh, I can't even say how many women I've had who, I think pretty much most women I've known have been, I'm going to go buy myself a new outfit. That'll make me feel better. Right? Like that'll
retail therapy.
Yeah, retail therapy. You need a shopping day, right? Like that kind of thing. And I mean, I'm not going to deny that it can feel really good to go get a new outfit.
Of course.
Does, but it's such a temporary fix in the scheme of things. Like if you feel like crap and that's what you need to give yourself a boost, why do you feel like crap? Like instead, like where's it coming from? Because it's not about your clothes per se.
Yeah.
Like, there's deeper rooted stuff going on here for sure. So yeah, I've seen it consistently.
Yeah.
I would imagine you have too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think any of us escape it. So this next section might get a little uncomfortable. This is what I've written here. So I don't know. What are we going to talk about?
I have no idea.
Because the truth often is. So women are conditioned to uphold the very system that oppresses us, just like we've been talking about. And we do it without even realizing it. I mean, honestly, I don't think I realized the depth of this until I started doing the research. So here's some of how. By glorifying overwork and self-sacrifice, it's not uncommon to praise women who do it all, but shame those who rest. And, we actually glorify the selfless woman, the woman who does it all. That's who we put on the pedestal of, oh, she was such a good woman. She so selfless. By participating in the perfectionism trap. So we tear ourselves apart for not looking young enough, fit enough, or good enough, because we've been told that our worth is in how we appear for thousands of years. So that's a pretty big one. If we don't look perfect, you got that blemish on your face, you got to get the makeup, you got a scar. I mean, oh gosh, let's go have that taken care of. Let's cover it up. So much shame. And by accepting bullshit gender roles, we tell ourselves that caregiving and emotional labor is just our jobs. And and we've repeated this pattern for generations. So yeah, that's just, I think, some small examples. And I think we've already talked about most of them in depth, but yeah, like these things are pretty serious and they do. I mean, I could see where you might think like, well, but how do gender roles play into us feeding capitalism? It does. If you really look at it, it majorly does, because if we're not doing what is women's work, the whole system crumbles. Can you imagine if every woman just was like, no, I'm not participating. No, you can raise the kids on your own, and you can make dinner, and you can do the shopping, and you can arrange birthday parties, and you can.
And
I'm done. I'm out. I'm out. I'm going to live like the typical, we'll just say 1950s husband and beyond backwards, because that's about, when we see a transition is when women start to go to work and start actually questioning things and speaking up and having more of a voice. Is, you get into like the 60s, 70s, we start to see some huge transitions. But before then, we were really carrying, everything. And I've always said, I feel like in some ways we almost, shot ourselves in the foot, if you will, by stepping into the workforce, because now not only are we working and having the careers and earning on that level, we also were still taking care of the kids, doing all the emotional support, running the households. Like, it's kind of crazy when you think about the difference of the responsibilities. within the gender roles.
Yeah.
So that's I said, here's the radical truth. The system only works if we keep playing along. And that's where we're at. Like, we need to start saying no more and figuring out ways that we can stand up to this system. So, have you ever felt judged or judged by someone else for not doing enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think as much as I've judged myself.
Yeah.
I think we tend to start internalizing a lot of that a lot more.
Yeah. Actually, the question wrote, have you ever felt judged or judged someone else for not doing enough? Yes, that makes more sense. Yeah, I've definitely felt judged. And I've seen other women judged against me, which always pains me when I hear something, of a husband using me as a comparison, because you don't know me. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors and how, I behave. I only let you see what I want you to see. Yeah. And I think that's the case for everyone. Yeah. So I hate it when that happens. It's happened a few times and it's just icky. Sucks. It's so icky. And judging someone else for not doing enough.
I feel like
I can't think of an example in my mind, but I'm sure I have.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like I feel like, I mean, I'm gonna say I also can't think of an example, but I'm like, of course, we judge.
We've done it.
Like,
it happens.
And I think a lot of it.
She's so lazy. Oh my God, what a lazy person. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think a lot of it is done unconsciously. Like, and when you start to kind of like look into these things, I think you start to notice your own thoughts a lot more. You start noticing how you are just like judging others, like those thoughts just pop up and you're making quick judgments and you're like, whoa.
And it's one thing to make a judgment. Like, I'll just use an example. You see a woman and her house is just thrashed, and you think, and she's got kids and she's overwhelmed, and you may think, my gosh, she's not even keeping her house clean. Like, the kids are not being, properly cared for or whatever. Well, yes, okay, that's a judgment. And you can leave it at that, just a judgment. Or what about offering her some support? What about saying like, hey, I made you a meal. Hey, I thought I'd come over and hang out today, and you become friends with her and you start helping her a little bit. Or you take the kids and you watch them and let her have a break, because good chance situation is way beyond anything you understand. Whether she's dealing with personal traumas, a terrible relationship, you don't know. And I think that we need to be more supportive of each other. So,
no, absolutely.
Have you ever thought certain work was gender-based out of your own conditioning? Well, I already shared that I have definitely done that. And, I even still probably sometimes I'm like, hey guys, take out the trash. I take out a lot of trash too.
Yeah, but me too.
But yeah, well, you take out all your trash. We've already established
Listen, I'm just trying to feel included, okay?
No, I've definitely done it out of my own conditioning, for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think we all do.
Yeah, no, I think it's unavoidable to a certain degree until you start to actually.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's going to sit there and go, I've never done that, I think you just don't realize, honestly, because this conditioning runs so deep.
Yeah, which is
why
I'm
deep.
Kind of like, I think
at some point in your life, you probably have. Perhaps the newish generation, maybe not, but I don't know.
Yeah, don't know either.
It's pretty doubtful because this stuff runs deep.
Deep.
Have you participated in the perfectionism trap?
I haven't had to, because I am perfect. No.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I think I earned a couple medals in
Wow.
perfectionism
Gold
trap.
medals? Like, you
Mhm.
know, you got to be perfect.
Well, I mean, I really gave it my all for a long, long time,
Yeah.
to the point of basically debilitating
Yeah.
myself.
I didn't earn shit.
Oh my gosh.
But to answer that, yes.
No, it's a serious problem.
Mhm.
Just getting stuck in it,
Yeah.
thinking that you have to do everything perfect,
Mhm.
and everything has to look perfect, be perfect. You have to be perfect. You have to behave perfect. You
Mhm.
can't speak out. You can't, can't express your emotions.
Mhm.
This is all stuff we were conditioned.
I remember having like just a quick kind of like side note, thinking about like how you said like raising, like speaking up or whatever. Like I remember having so much anxiety about pretty much everything I said.
Oh my
Like,
gosh, me too.
and kind of like, you know, say I would leave like some social interaction or something, and
Yes,
then
I
you
know
just
where
go
this is
over and over in your
going.
head of like, oh, I shouldn't have
Yes.
said that. Like I said such a stupid, oh God, like,
Yes.
like, and you're just going over and over and over.
I do not miss that.
No, me neither.
Oh my gosh, it's just
I
such
will
a
say, like,
terrible
that is a
thing.
terrible thing. And like every once in a while, that still kind of pokes its head up occasionally. Not bad. It's only like this brief,
Mhm.
like, well, that was a dumb thing to say, or like, I hope they didn't think I meant this, or like, you know, just like something.
Yeah, no,
And
and I
I think that's a
agree
little bit more like normal human
for
behavior,
sure.
but like to a
But
certain degree.
like what you're talking about
Yeah.
is where you're replaying it in your
Yes. And
mind
it's
over
like,
and over. I could have said this different. I
yeah.
should have said this different.
And
Oh
you're
my
like,
God, what
you're
do they think of
catastrophizing
me?
in your
Oh my,
mind.
they don't. I bet I
They're
blew
never
that
going to want to
one.
talk to
They're not
me
going to want.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah. And you're
totally.
just stuck in that anxiety loop
Yes. No,
of
it's terrible.
perfectionism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what
Yeah.
you're talking about. Gave it up a long time
Did
ago.
ya? Wow.
Yeah.
You quitter.
And life has been good.
Yeah. I feel like I honestly like just went through the process in the last few years of really the kind of like breaking that one a lot more. It's been
no,
a lot more recent for me.
mine is definitely more recent than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
For sure. But I just don't like to think back of how recent it was, or I just
Yeah.
think I'm out of it,
Yeah.
and thank God for that. So, and it happened through a lot of healing.
Yeah.
It took a lot of intensive healing to break that habit.
Yeah.
And just not get stuck in the trap. One of the first things is learning that perfectionism is an actual, it's a mental condition. Like it's I didn't know that was a diagnosis,
Okay.
if you will.
Yeah, I didn't really know that either.
No, I didn't learn that until, I don't know, it was maybe 10 years ago or so, roundabouts. And I remember being very surprised, like, oh my, like, wow, so that's an actual, like, that's not a good thing at all. Like, I mean, I knew it felt like hell, but I didn't realize, like, this is an actual condition people suffer from. And that really woke me up to it. And I think I started exploring it at that point. What's one thing we can do today to stop feeding the system?
I think we're doing it right now.
We're having conversations like this. Have conversations with your sisters, with your moms, with your aunts, your cousins. Talk about it. Hey, how are we feeding into a capitalistic system, a system that does not support the world that we want to live in? And how is this system feeding off of our insecurities? Like, do you find, like, some of the questions that we talk about in this show, I think, are really great questions to bring into conversations with your friends and your family. And, I think starting to take pause before you impulse purchase things could help too, when we're talking about like the consumption side of things, that purchase stuff.
Why do I feel like I need this?
Yeah, why am I buying this?
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously we do need new clothes sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that's just
Yeah,
the
of
reality. But why are you, purchasing that item? And why? I think it's really important to make sure any purchases you're making that are feeding into what is currently a capitalistic system, why are you making them? Where is it coming from? Because if it's coming from a place of lack or
trying to keep up,
trying to keep up and self doubt, I think that's where you need to really look at it and stop, and just by raising our voices too, and saying, no, we're not going to take this anymore. We're done. Just be done. Refuse to participate. And obviously it's ingrained so deep, you're still going to be participating for some time. So by making the choice to stop, you'll pull back a little more and a little more. So
I guess our whole next section is, how do we break free? How do we stop playing into the system?
So we have some more tips. Than just me babbling.
Question everything, which I think we were just kind of saying, like, every time you feel pressure to overwork, overgive, or over sacrifice, or I'm going to say over purchase, ask yourself, who benefits from this? Is this truly my belief, or was it given to me or forced upon me, really?
That's a really good one. Asking yourself who benefits from this. Yeah.
Stop apologizing for taking up space. You don't need to shrink. Take up space.
Take up all the space.
Unapologetically.
All the space you
all
want.
The space.
Yeah.
Challenge the narrative. If someone tells you a woman is too much or not enough, ask why and who decided that.
I think that one's good, because I have actually had people tell me, like, oh, she's just too much. And like, I've heard these types of comments in passing, and I don't know that I have often, like, actually stopped and said, why? Why is she too much? And I want to really start doing that, because I certainly thought it. And it's like, but we do hold back. We don't use our voices when somebody is criticizing another person. I have started doing it more and more when I hear criticism, being like, well, they're going through something. Just let them be. Like, it's not your place to judge them. It's not your business, But I do feel like, that, because I've heard a lot of people say that people are too much, and we need to put an end to that.
Another one is rest without guilt. The most radical thing you can do in a system that profits off your exhaustion is to stop overworking and start reclaiming your time.
And just rest. Okay. We had a little disruption, so we'll see. We'll see how we have to goes. Splice videos together. So the other one, our next one is support other women, which I talked about.
Yes.
Yeah. So we don't break the system by tearing each other down. We break it by standing together. Unite. Realize that this system wants us divided. It wants us to be jealous of each other and have walls between us based in judgment, and things that just simply do not fucking matter. So if we are united, we are more powerful. And that's, and the system has really made it challenging for us to unite. I mean, there's so many issues within the sister wound that make it very challenging. So let's say no more, and let's start coming together, and there's strength in our unity. So what are some things you have reclaimed? Your time, your body, your energy?
Those.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel.
Why did you asked me a question and then you answered it?
Your
time, your body, your energy.
I would say yes.
Yes to all those. And I think reclaiming, I'm gonna say, like, just myself, if that makes it, like, reclaiming who I am, reclaiming that little girl who is too much,
Mm-hmm.
I'll say in quotations,
Yep.
who laughs too loud and, you know,
Yeah.
says stupid things and is very human.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I would
wears
say
whatever she wants, and, you know.
absolutely. Yeah. I would say, you know, also our voice, like even,
Mhm,
you know, just through
mhm,
doing this podcast, that's one of the
mhm,
ways we're reclaiming our voice,
for sure.
right? So,
Yeah, like when I think, you know, I think back to like, because we had a podcast before for a little while, and I think back, you know, to just like the difference between that one and this one. It's like that was kind of like we were starting with that one. Like that was like, you know, beginning. I feel like dipping our toes in the water a little bit, but like we held back so much
oh my
on that
gosh.
podcast. And then like, yeah, no. I'm just sorry. I'm just like reflecting in this moment. And I'm
No.
like, wow, I'm actually really proud of this.
Well, that was one of those times when I would walk away from having recorded that podcast and
Mhm.
I would be thinking about all the things I could have said
Yes.
differently,
Oh my
should have said
gosh. Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I don't do that with this one.
I don't do that with
I
this
mean, there's
one.
the occasional episode we record where I'm like,
Yeah. I
could've-
mean, there's the
yeah.
odd time where I think of something afterwards where I'm like, oh, I could have went into that,
Yes.
but it's not
Yeah.
like, it's more so I didn't think of it at the time.
Exactly. And
Not
it's
like, oh, I wish I would have said that.
yeah. And then it's like, well, I'll just, if
I
it
think,
comes up again, maybe
yeah.
I'll remember
And I
this
think
time.
like,
Yeah.
I think I did that even in the first few episodes of like this show. Like I did that a few times where I think afterwards I would like say to you, I'd be like, oh, like I was going to say this. And you're like, well, why didn't you say
Why
it?
didn't you say it?
And
Yeah.
usually on my end, it's because I'm like saying something silly or like cracking a joke or something or being like really stupid. But
Yeah. I also remember on our first go around, us like putting a disclaimer about that there might be cussing and us trying not to cuss, and now we just don't give a fuck at all. We're just like, whatever.
Yeah, we cuss.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean,
that's how I really talk. So.
Yeah, well, exactly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what does true freedom from capitalism's expectations look like to you? Well, first of all, capitalism can take their expectations and shove them.
Yeah.
Where the sun don't shine.
I'm going to have one of those moments that I just talked about, but I was going to say something. And then I was like, wait, we're recording. I'm not going to say that because I think that's a little too far. But anyway.
Yeah.
Now everyone's going to want to know what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, I usually do. When
I'll tell you
that.
later.
Yeah. If she remembers.
I will.
What does true freedom from capitalism expectations look like to you? It looks like women having confidence. Mm-hmm. It looks like women no longer looking in the mirror and hating on themselves, seeing their beauty and their divinity, truly embodying it, taking care of their bodies properly, not because they feel like they need to fit in to something, but because this is a sacred. Oh, I'm just hit my mic. Yeah. This is a sacred temple that we have. This is that we live with. Our souls reside within this sacred human temple. Take care of your body because of that, not because you need to fit in, because you need to be thinner.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say take care of your body because you love it, not because you're trying to fit into some made up bullshit standards that have been forced upon you.
And it's women coming together in true friendship and sisterhood without the cattiness, without the judgment, without the talking behind each other's backs, and all that snottiness that gets us nowhere at all. And, you know, really supporting one another, helping one another, lifting each other up. Capitalism does not like that. It doesn't want us together. And it doesn't want us feeling good about ourselves. So that's, to me, that's when we have freedom from it. When we start to feel good, take care of ourselves because we actually love ourselves. And and we love others too. And we stop trying to tear them down.
Stop trying to make everybody be the same and fit into the same boxes.
Exactly. Accept them for their differences and just love them through them. And if you do see something where you have a judgment of some kind, how can you help them? Ask how you can help instead of just talking negative about them and shaming them. You
Yeah.
know, like that's not going to get us anywhere.
How can you approach from a place of love,
Yes,
not judgment?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's to me, that's when we'll see true freedom from this, when and I think also we'll see it in women like fully tuning into what our overconsumption of by playing into this system, being complacent and over consuming, what it's doing to the earth and to our future generations, and feeling the responsibility of that towards the kids.
Yeah.
You keep smiling
I'm
at
sorry.
me. It's
I
making
know.
me
I'm
so
sorry. I'm
nervous.
sorry. I'm sorry.
She's got something on her
No.
mind. But yeah, so I feel like, it's also looking at what we're doing to the planet and saying no more of that. Like there's so many layers to this problem, because it's not just affecting us and how we feel emotionally and our mental states. And then how our bank accounts suffer from this nonsense. And it's also like a global thing. Like we have an actual problem here. Capitalism causes a major problem, and we need to say no more. There's too much shit being bought.
Yeah.
Period. And we don't need 90% of it.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion. Do you have anything to add?
No,
She sits here
really.
smirking.
Not really.
She's probably thinking about this thing she didn't say that she's going to tell me.
Oh my God. Don't read my mind.
That's probably what's going on. I can't wait
I
to
do have thoughts that pop into my head all the time that I just laugh about while we're recording.
Oh, I know.
Aware. I can't believe that me smirking still makes you nervous. You should know by now. It's just me having a passing thought.
I know. Well, I try to ignore you.
I'm sorry.
I try to ignore you.
I know. Just put a pillow between us. Oh my God. No. I have a very expressive face, okay?
Well, this is the thing. They can see you smirking.
I know.
Now.
Oh God, yeah.
Before we did video, they couldn't see that.
Well, now it makes more sense. And they're probably less confused by you being like, "What are you making that face for?"
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that note.
So in closing, we're gonna say just to finish us on this topic here, the system has profited from our exhaustion, our insecurity, and our unpaid labor for far too long. We have the power to choose differently. We don't have to keep feeding a machine that was built to break us. Remember, unless we're broken, it doesn't profit. So it's pretty important. Your healing work is really important. So this week, we are going to challenge you to rest without guilt, to question everything, and remember, you are powerful. You are sacred and beautiful, and you are enough just as you are. So look in the mirror and tell yourself that you're enough, you're sacred, you're beautiful. That's my challenge for you. She's still just smirking.
I'm just happy to be here.
If this episode resonated with you, please share it. It really helps us to grow. Leave a comment and follow us. Don't forget to check out our Instagram account at Unraveling This Life for more, and be sure to sign up for our newsletter, Love Notes, where we send you those little notes of inspiration and continued healing. And if you would like to go deeper in your healing journey, come on over and join our membership. There's some exclusive content in there and lots of guidance and support for your healing journey. Until next time, we love you. Be kind to yourself. And remember, you are worthy.